Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball podcast, episode 39. I'm Adam Miller, and I'm here with Jaren Wilt each and every week, and we are going to be bringing you the news and notes on all 11 Division I schools in the state of Indiana, because in 49 states,
it's just basketball.
I cannot wait for the day that I do that muted and just completely butcher it, because something like that is going to happen, and luckily all my blunders on the intro have been when we were pre-recording. So something's bound to happen. That, or I'm either clutch. Who knows?
You do have the clutch gene. I'll give you that. But yeah, no, it's bound to happen, right? The number of times we've had any kind of technical difficulty, like last week with the crickets, or
bring them back. Bring back the crickets.
Yeah, there was a couple times where our mics they weren't muted. They just didn't work. It's bound to happen.
Trying to record in the same place when we're broke and don't have a nice setup,
It happens.
These are the struggles. But if you're here with us now, we appreciate you. And if you're still here after those things, we appreciate you even more. I hope to God that one of those episodes was not your first episode.
Yeah, I mean, any of our listeners that have been there since day one. I was actually showing our YouTube to my grandma last week. Not even last week, yesterday. Took her to the YouTube channel on her TV, showed her our evolution, right, from my living room with my dining room table moved into the living room, sitting across from each other. First episode where, we've told the story where we had to re-record it like 4 times.
Yeah.
And it was like 1 a.m. when we finally finished. To now, right? We've big steps we've taken. We're not all the way there yet. We never will be.
Our hope is to stop giving our listeners whiplash between home episodes and studio episodes. So we'll get there. Donations maybe would help us.
Who knows?
Or Santa Claus. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about this one. So obviously, if you follow us on Twitter, you saw this, or I think we announced it last week. We're going to be joined in just a second here by Elliott Crow of Bracket Busters. So I'll let him get into kind of what Bracket Busters is, how he came up with it, and kind of what it's all about. But we are going to be focused on mid-majors this week. Majority of the teams in our state are mid-majors. So it's kind of like a perfect crossover between Indiana schools, mid-majors. And so we're excited about that. And Elliott's a great guy. We're excited to have him on.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting. He's a mid-major expert. The Rolodex of knowledge that he has when it comes to mid-majors is incredible. I could never do it. But yeah,
11 is hard enough, 11 schools is hard enough.
Right. Maybe want to bring him in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, Elliott.
How's it going, man?
Not too bad. You were talking mid-majors?
We are here for some great mid-major talk, some high-level mid-major talk.
A rundown of mid-majors, some would say.
I think mid-major madness is taken, so we'll avoid that one.
Maybe I just need to. I'll try to get bigger than them, and then I'll take the name over.
There you go.
That's what I'm trying to do. Hopefully, the admin of the account doesn't hear this, though. But
I made the mistake of the first thumbnail I made for us said mid-major madness, and I was like, wait a minute, I cannot do that. I can't be misleading.
You'll confuse people.
I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I was trying to start Bracket Busters, I went to ChatGPT and I was trying to generate names, and that popped up, and I was like, that sounds familiar. And I was like, no, okay, I can't take that one. But
hey, Bracket Busters works because that name is no longer taken.
Yeah, because they haven't done that tournament since it's been over 10 years, right? It was probably 2010, 2012, something like that.
Statute of limitations is not the right word, but that's what I'm thinking. It's been too long.
It's been too long. I get to claim it now. It's fine.
Yeah. If you let it sit dormant, I'm sure.
If they come back, I'll just rebrand it Bracket Busters Media, and it'll be fine.
There you go.
They can't do anything about that.
And then you'll DM them and be like, I guess I am the premier covering source for Bracket Busters now.
I'll send him
know.
over my contract.
Yeah,
Blank check. We'll
exactly.
It was 2013, so it's been over 10 years.
There you go. Statute of limitations.
make.
Well, Elliott, we're glad to have you on. Obviously we've talked before. We know each other pretty well, and so we're glad to have you on the show. We did, if you follow us closely, we did talk about the Missouri Valley tournament. We talked about Arch Madness with Elliott. That was on a Twitter Spaces though, so that might have missed you. But we're here podcasting together live on YouTube, Twitter, and obviously the replay. So Elliott, just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, Bracket Busters, kind of what you've got going on with Bracket Busters over there.
Yeah, for sure. So, if anybody does know me, I'm a diehard Evansville Aces fan. I think that's why I've got that hat on right there for me, me personally. But
Yeah, I'm wearing the Evansville, and you're the Evansville guy.
see, I was coming on this one, so I had to wear my Tyrese Halliburton Indiana shirt. So, I felt like it was appropriate. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, so I grew up on mid majors. Went to pretty much every Evansville Aces game. Possibly my parents and we all had season tickets. So I grew up just outside of Evansville. I went to Evansville. So I'm an alumni. So I kind of grew up on mid majors. Grew up in the Missouri Valley, and I've always kind of had a little bit of a passion for writing. So I've mostly done a few different blogs, and then I decided to kind of take the passion for college basketball and turn it into Bracket Busters. So we run everything on a platform. It's called Substack. It's kind of blown up over the last couple of years. Actually, it's like pretty easy. You don't have to maintain a website or anything. You can just kind of blog it there. It's mostly like a newsletter that's kind of turned into a blog. So we do a lot of mid-major content during the season. We do like mid-major top 25s weekly. And then we do a bunch of different coverage about important games, players. We cover literally every mid-major conference, ranging from the Mountain West all the way down to the Southland. Or, we don't. Sometimes there's some conferences that we miss a little bit, and we kind of have those that I think we cover a little bit more, depending on who's in the top 25. But kind of range off that. And then during the off season, we've been doing these off season reviews of different schools, the transfer portals, kind of demolish some schools while also being an advantage for others. So trying to cover who's been moving where and that kind of thing, and just trying to kind of like you all trying to find content during the off season, can sometimes be like scraping the bottom of the barrel, but the transfer portal keeps things interesting. So it keeps something to always talk about with mid majors for me.
Yeah, I mean, you also did, if I remember, on your Instagram, or I guess you're actively doing top 20 FIBA, or no, the under 20 FIBA players that were mid-major players, right?
Yeah, we just put that out. And actually, when we talk about one of them later, I think when we start talking about some mid-majors, and it's kind of interesting. So like the FIBA tournaments, it always produces like, good European guys that are coming through to mid-majors. And at that tournament in particular, it's had people, like Wemby and all of them that comes through those type of Eurobasket tournaments. So it's like you're not playing, you're like small high school kids in the middle of cornfields. You're playing like super, like very talented individuals that are going to go to the NBA. And then some of those guys sneak through and they were going to mid majors. And, we kind of did that. We covered 3 guys in particular. And one, actually, I'll probably end up mentioning 2 of them. One's going to a school here in Indiana, and then another one's going to a mid major that I personally am going to tell everybody they need to watch because they're probably going to be good contenders again next year. So, it's always kind of fun to watch those like undervalued guys that, usually they don't have a lot of D1 offers. If any, they get like one, and it's because a random assistant coach just happened to like find them. And they're like, oh, this guy's good. And then, they try to recruit them over. And whenever these kids come from international, they don't really know some of these schools. And like, I remember there was actually a kid that was in my class as a freshman at Evansville, and he was from, I think, Lithuania, I think. And he was like, yeah, I'd never been to Evansville before. They recruited me and we just came out and I signed. So it was like, these kids, they don't always know, it's like a totally different recruiting game when you're going to international. So it's, these like FIBA tournaments are fun to watch.
Jaren, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like when we had Paul Oren on, he was talking about back, I don't even know, would have been the Drew days when they were recruiting international students. Basically like, they don't know the difference between Valpo and Duke. So like, you just have to convince them that you're Duke like before they get here. Obviously it doesn't really work now because everyone knows Duke, but 30 years ago is a different story.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It was very much like Valpo was one of the first, Division I schools to recruit heavily, like actually have a recruiting presence overseas. And it was because of that reason, is like some of those kids, they don't know left from right in the sense of like, is this school good? Is this school not good? And that was back when Valpo was a pretty reputable tournament team.
Well, and even now, these kids like they have these tournaments like FIBA under 20 and all those things. Like they have FIBA under 18. They have all these different like international leagues. The NBA Global Academy. Evansville's got a kid that came from there, and they have opportunities to get seen by recruits. But then there's just a lot of different countries in this world, so like it's hard to find every single recruit. Some of these kids, they just take whatever opportunity they can get, and then that's the type of guy that's like, oh, you start out at somewhere in the Southland Conference, transfer up to Missouri Valley, then transfer up to the Big Ten. You can kind of like make those journeys as kind of an underrated guy who wasn't heavily recruited.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially now with the transfer portal, makes it easier.
Oh yeah, 100%.
If you are a European player, you sign with a school, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought this school was different than what it is.
I've been bamboozled.
There's that opportunity there. Yeah, for sure. But well, do we want to talk about our what we've got 7? I think, like you said, Adam, a majority of our 11 are mid majors. Do we want to kind of hop in and talk through those?
Yeah. So let me just break it down. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about since Elliott's here and he knows all about mid majors on like a bigger scale than we do. We're going to talk about our 7 mid major schools. Obviously, we're not going to be talking about Indiana, Purdue, Notre Dame, and Butler tonight. And then we're going to kind of ask Elliott and have him break down like what mid majors should you be interested in this upcoming season? Who is he high on? Because, those are the teams that I think will be fun to root for come tournament time. Like this is where you might hear about Samford or an Oakland, those teams that you end up rooting for, but you may not have heard of them or you didn't know anything about their basketball team. So trying to get some kind of insider-ish information on those teams. And then I'm going to make Elliott rank some teams. So yeah, let's jump into it. Where do you want to start, Jaren?
Well, I'm wearing a Ball State shirt, so I think it's only right that we start at Ball State.
And the fact that our brains, as we proved on this show, don't function correctly when we don't go in alphabetical order.
Yeah. That's a callback to one of the episodes where we decided to go in power ranking order, I think it was.
Yeah.
And that was there was just a lot of scrolling back and forth.
We should have reorganized. Well, I should have not thrown it on you.
It was literally like
I was like, hey, right before we talk about these teams, what if we did it in this order instead?
Yeah, it was live on the show.
Don't fix what's don't fix what's not broken, right?
Yeah.
Like
you have to try it once, never again.
Yeah. No. So Ball State, they are currently 246 preseason in Torvik. So not ideal, right? We want all of our teams to at minimum be top 200, I think is kind of our baseline. But talking through their team, right? They had 3 major pickups. Jeremiah Hernandez, one of our guys that we covered last year from Southern Indiana, Peyton Sparks, another guy we covered last year, and then Joey Hart, who is a transfer from Kentucky. All 3 big additions to the Cardinals. I think there's still some questions out there on how will they play at the various levels now. It did lose three big pieces, right? So it was tough making this list because the first thought is they lost Bashir Jihad. Like, okay, they lost their best player last year. I was like, wait a minute. They also lost Jalen Anderson, their second best player. We're like, wait a minute. They also lost Davion Bailey, their third best player. So a lot of production they lost. Obviously, they lost 3 key pieces. They brought in 3 guys that we think are going to be key. So I want to talk us through why we think Jeremiah Hernandez, Joey Hart, and Peyton Sparks are going to be big pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to start at the back end there. Peyton Sparks, I mean, we saw him play and earn all MAC honors for his freshman and sophomore year. He goes to Indiana for his junior year. Doesn't play a whole ton, but comes back home, has kept that relationship with Mike Lewis. And, I think he's going to pick up kind of right where he left off. maybe I don't know. It's hard to like predict how much better he's going to be because of the amount of playing time that he just lost. But
Mhm.
obviously, there's more, I guess, resources at Indiana. So, maybe it balances out. Maybe he picks up right where he left off. But I think he's going to be fine. Obviously, Mike Lewis knows how to use him as a starting five. So I expect him to kind of jump right into that. Jeremiah Hernandez comes over from Southern Indiana and just made a massive jump last year. He actually started out his career in the MAC. I don't remember where it was in the MAC. Might have been. My heart says Kent State, but I don't know for sure.
Actually, that sounds right.
But so he started out in the MAC and then transferred to the Southern Indiana and then made a big jump last year. So comes back to the MAC, just like Peyton did. I think that if he can, what did he have last year? How many points did he have last year? 17,
Yep,
and about
17.2.
10 trillion from the line. I think if he can, hit 12 to 15, he might be able to help kind of replace that, like Davion Bailey or Jalen Anderson scoring that you need. And then Joey Hart, I don't know, good recruit coming out of high school, ended up in Kentucky because they needed bodies. And I just want to see him shoot like, what's that kid? Reed Shepherd level, just come in and be the Reed Shepherd of Ball State.
What was Joey Hart's 3-point percentage last year?
I mean, 100%. I don't know how many he took, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and he proved that he can make them, or it. I don't know. What do you think about this kind of roster change, Elliott? What do you think about Ball State?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you lose your top three guys, it's pretty brutal. And it kind of just goes to show again, like the transfer portal giveth, it also taketh. And, I know we were chatting about this the other day, but like Jalen Anderson and Davion Bailey, they didn't exactly transfer to power schools. They transferred to Incarnate Word, and that's a school that kind of had some Indiana ties. I think that helped out there, but obviously tough losses for Ball State. And however, Jeremiah Hernandez, he took like triple step forward for USI last year. Nobody saw that coming whatsoever. USI was a little rough, but they needed somebody to kind of step up, and you don't just average 17 points and you're not above average. So he's going to be a great guy for Ball State. Peyton Sparks, he's going to be great. I think he's going to come back. Like now, given hopefully the IU kind of step back doesn't hurt too much in terms of like getting too much in his head. He kind of go back to Ball State where he's got a lot of experience, kind of back at that mid-major level. I think that would help him unlock that. Joey Hart, I'm a big fan of. Whenever he was coming out of high school, he had a top 4 in Evansville. Was actually, and it was Evansville, UCF, Ball State, and someone else there. I can't remember who the last one was, but he'd initially committed to UCF. There was like a lot of people wanting him to obviously come to Evansville, and then he decommitted from UCF, went to Kentucky. And whenever he opened his transfer, or whenever he decided to transfer from Kentucky, there was a lot of us. I would have loved to have him at Evansville. Like I'm jealous of Ball State got him. I think he's going to be great. Whenever he's in high school, he's a great shooter. So I think he's the type of guy that's going to help kind of fill some of this void that Ball State has. So I think they made the best of what they could in portal, try to help fill some of what they lost here. And, they got some good guys returning too. So, it's their fourth guy. What was it? Mickey Pearson.
Mickey Pearson.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they got him coming back. I think he averaged over 12 points a game. So kind of combining him with these three, I think Ball State could be solid again in the MAC. I know they kind of had a down year last year and the MAC's really tough, but, I think these three will help fill that.
Yeah. And I think it helps that, Mickey and Peyton played together, right? They played together
totally.
for at least a year. I can't remember if Mickey was a freshman when Sparks was, but they've got that rapport already. We talk about whenever guys transfer, right? You're bringing a team together. You have to figure out how everyone plays together. Well, at least that helps that Peyton's coming back. So he's already played with Mickey. He's got that experience, and Mickey's not the only one on the team that he's played with, but that's a key piece, right? Like I think these are. Jerry, Peyton, and Joey, those are 3 starters of 5, I imagine. And I imagine Mickey is a 4th. So definitely think that that's going to help. My biggest intrigue, and Adam, you brought this up, is do we think that Jerry, who is a knockdown free throw shooter, and Peyton Sparks, who is not a knockdown free throw shooter. They kind of balance each other out at the line. So Jerry was an 81% shooter last year. I don't think there was a game where he missed more than one. There might have been
it was like
a game where he
two.
missed two.
If he missed two, it was like crazy.
And then Peyton is a 41%. So at the law of averages, right? You're looking at a 60% free throw clip between the two. But
if it rubs off one way, I hope that Jerry rubs off on Peyton. The most interesting thing about Peyton Sparks' free throw percentage is he was 70% his freshman year, then 52.5%, and then 41%. Obviously on very low attempts his junior year at IU, but like that's just crazy. Normally you see the opposite thing, but I don't know. I mean, he's got to make them if he's going to get to the line. He's going to get to the line a lot. It's a lot easier to post up and big body somebody in the MAC when, as opposed to the Big Ten where you have to do it against 7'4" Zach Edey. So,
and I think that even that 51% his sophomore year at Ball State, I think is a little misleading because he went to the line, if I'm not mistaken. He went to the line a lot. He was elite at drawing fouls. He just didn't convert. Whereas Jerry is elite at drawing fouls and does convert. So
he was shot 219 his sophomore year, and he made 115 as compared to his freshman year. He shot 202 and hit 142 of them. And then last year he made 15 of 36. So
obviously a big value.
Very difference. Yeah.
So I think that Peyton's free throw percentage will go up.
It would be hard for it to go down.
I was going to say, it would be pretty impressive if it actually decreased. But y'all made this comment earlier. I had no clue about this. But Jeremiah Hernandez shot 247 free throws last year.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And how many did he hit?
200. That's wild.
He was leading the top 10 in the country in like percentage and like attempps. Like it seriously
I had no clue.
He'd have like 25 points and like 14 of them were at the line. Yeah, Sam Mervis.
Well, hey, if anything, him and Will Jerry, that's going to balance that out for him. So, I mean, got some significant free throw shooters on this team.
Yeah, they lose the ability to stretch the floor that Jihad did have, but obviously Peyton Sparks is just a commanding force down low. Anything else on Ball State? Mike Lewis, 21-12 in his first year, 15-16 last year. Missed the MAC tournament, right, Jaren?
Yeah. It was one of those things that we were playing. We were the meme where it's Charlie Kelly from It's Always Sunny, just trying to piece it together. Okay, what needs to happen for them to make the MAC? Just like we were with Southern Indiana, right? We were trying to figure out, okay, if this team loses and then this team loses and then this team wins, like, do all three need to happen congruently? What's the So they did miss
doing that at least some point during the basketball season. You're missing out. Like that's the fun of it. You got to like figure out, oh, if this guy loses, I'm going to be here. You just got to like play against yourself essentially.
I never wanted to do that after I was doing it very heavily. The year that IU was the number 1 seed in the NIT when they had Romeo Langford. Was that like 2019?
Sounds right.
And they were the number 1 seed in the NIT, and like they were on the bubble and just lost so many games. It's like, okay, how many games do they have to do that? And then I was like, I never want to do that again. And then I was doing that with Ball State and Southern Indiana, and then just counting down like the games that could be stolen for Indiana State to make it in last year. It's just so unfun. It's so unfun.
When you're doing it for Indiana State at the end of the year, that's tough. So that was a tough finish.
In the MAC too, their tiebreaker rules with the MAC, right? Only 8 of the 11 or 8 of the 10 make the tournament, and their tiebreaker rules are so weird. We had to reach out to a buddy of mine, the voice of the Cardinals, Mick Tidrow, and he helped us out on Twitter because obviously inside the program they had it all mapped out as well, but it made my head hurt.
Could you imagine this year we don't do that again? I don't know. We haven't thought about it.
I'd be concerned. But no, Mick is a smart guy, so I knew that they'd be on top of it.
So if we have nothing else on Ball State, I'm actually going to let you lead us since this is your alma mater. You can lead us on
Oh,
Evansville here, Elliot. Take it away.
yeah. So they're ranked 230 preseason, which, okay, I'm gonna be honest here. I know, like, I do this too, so I'm guilty as charged. But like making preseason, like, you're picking the standings. It's
Hmm.
like a nightmare. Half the time you're just throwing darts at a board, and you're like, oh, this guy looks good. Let me just pick him there. And I've seen a lot of people pick Evansville like 11th or 10th in the Missouri Valley. So I'm glad to see that's 230. I feel like that's like actually like respectable because I think preseason last year they were like 350. So I think, and that was mostly because I had an entirely new team. Obviously for us Evansville fans, heartbreaker, we lost Ben Hummerkaus. For those of you that don't know about him, I think you all did an interview with him actually earlier
Mhm.
this year.
Yep.
Great kid, great personality. Came from NAIA Huntington, transferred up to Evansville as a senior. Dude averaged 14.7 points, 4.7 rebounds, 1.9 assists. He shot over 40% from 3-point. I think had he not been hurt early in the season, he would have helped Evansville win even more games, probably finish 500. They also lost Yassine Toomey. He played a key piece in kind of the rebuild from Evansville. They started out in David Ragland's first season. They were 5-27. Yassine was a part of that team, stayed with it, and improved his game even more. He's actually transferred to Seton Hall now. Ben Hummerkaus transferred to Illinois, and then Chuck Bailey was a freshman. Won several freshman of the week awards. He averaged 8.4 points, 2.6 rebounds. He transferred to University of Nevada. So you're talking about 3 guys on an Evansville team too that transferred to Illinois, Seton Hall, and another to Nevada. So it kind of shows what the level of talent that David Ragland had brought in. And then they're obviously a transfer portal. Rips you apart when you're a small mid major essentially. And they also lost Antonio Thomas, Kenny Strawbridge. They were both seniors as well. They lost Gage Bobe as well. Gage Bobe is obviously he's actually joined the coaching staff now as a graduate assistant. Antonio Thomas was kind of like the main ball handler, and Kenny was also part of that 5-27 team. So him and Toomey both stuck around despite a pretty rough season. And both of them, Kenny was kind of that go-to guy, and then last year he took a step back a little bit as more of a role piece because we had Ben as kind of the go-to guy essentially at that point. So, kind of a tough loss. However, I do think like Ragland's coaching staff's done like a great job picking people up. So Ragland was at Butler as an assistant coach previously, and then he actually recruited Connor Turnbull to Butler. So he's gotten Butler or Turnbull to come down to Evansville now, coming into his junior season. Yes, junior season.
It's tampering.
It is tamper. I know, isn't that funny how that works? Like you become assistant coach somewhere, then you become a head coach, and he's like, bring your team with you. Like, I'm pumped about this kid. He's 6'10". He only averaged 4.1 points, 2.2 rebounds, but the dude averaged 1.8 blocks in like 12 minutes a game.
Yeah,
And he
I
didn't
like
even
him a
hardly play
lot.
in that many games. I'm sure y'all have watched him. So
Yeah, we're excited about Connor making the move. We don't want to see anyone transfer, but it is always nice when they transfer somewhere where they potentially think they're going to have more production, especially when it's in state. So we love that. We love that transfer.
100%. I think he's my favorite transfer personally that we've gotten so far, mostly because last year I think we struggled in the paint a lot. We had Joshua Hughes, who he's coming back this year. I'm a big fan of his, but being able to have 2 guys down low, it can kind of take some of that pressure off of Hughes to have to because he can shoot threes as well. So in Connor Turnbull he's got a nice shot too. I think he shot he didn't take a lot of shots, but he took I think he shot like over 40% from 3 in what attempts he did. It was something high.
That sounds right. I can check here in a second. Also, I looked it up. They were actually 318 starting last season.
318, yeah.
Yep. So I'm pleased with being where they're at now, especially
100%.
because most teams they do take a drop year over year because of the portal.
Yeah, and for Evansville, it's been a really tough last 6 seasons, really 7 seasons if I'm being honest. Ever since that season we beat Kentucky, it's just kind of been downhill since then, which it's just wild that you beat Kentucky and then you proceed to go 0-19 in conference.
I did not know that fact until the other night when we were preparing for this, and I was blown away.
We won't get into all the details about what happened there, but let's just say that whenever your coach gets dismissed midseason, it's a pretty rough go, and then your best player sits out. So It was a rough go, and ever since then, it's been kind of a coaching carousel. They had Walter McCarty, he got dismissed. Then they had Benny Seltzer for 4 games, and we got blew up by like 25 all 4 games. So then they switched to Todd Licklider. Licklider took over, and then after a couple seasons, they let him go, and then finally David Ragland took over. And he is a phenomenal human being. Honestly, y'all should try to reach out to him, maybe about doing an interview. He's a great guy. He's kind of building a great culture down in Evansville as well. He went 5-27 the first season, pretty much with what he could piece together at the end of the off season, because he was kind of a little bit of a late hire. And then, next season he turns around and gets him to almost 500. He recruited all these kids that went to bigger schools, and some of these other pickups he had, like I mentioned, he's got Connor Turnbull. He picked up Gabriel Pizzotto, which I mentioned. We were discussing earlier the FIBA Under 20 tournament. I just discussed him. He had a 33-point game during that tournament. Tayshawn Comer out of EKU, Kaya Barrage, he's a JUCO kid. No, he's a freshman. And then Ramondo Battle, he's JUCO. And then Trent Hundley out of I think University of Rio Grande. I think that's NAIA as well, if I believe.
Sounds right.
That sounds right.
But
yeah,
there's so many Division I teams. Learning all of those and then trying to learn.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about D2, D3, NAIA, JUCO Division I, JUCO Division II, like all those. But yeah, I'm a fan of these guys. Tayshawn Comer is he's a great point guard. He's just as a freshman at EKU, he's averaging 7.8 points, 3 assists a game. That's pretty impressive for college at this level. So, if he can try to take a step forward as the true ball handler. Ramondo Battle, this kid averaged nearly 15 points per game, 6.5 rebounds. Trent Hundley's kind of a little bit of an unknown. He only averaged 9 points at NAIA, so it's kind of a wait and see what we get out of him. And like I mentioned, Pizzotto had a great game in the under 20 tournament. So, I think he could make an immediate impact as a freshman as well. And, I kind of aforementioned earlier, but we returned Joshua Hughes. He averaged 6.6 points, 3.9 rebounds. I know it doesn't sound impressive. He kind of fell off a little bit in conference, but I think maybe some of that was being a freshman. But in non-conference, he was very impressive. He averaged nearly 10 points a game in non-conference. So, I would love to see him take that extra step forward. He does have the ability to knock down a 3. So him and Turnbull, it's going to be a great combo.
That's Josh
Tanner
Hughes.
Cove. Do what?
That was Josh Hughes you were talking about.
Yeah, that was Josh Hughes. Yeah, he's 6'10" as well. So him and Turnbull are both about that similar size. Kind of play that 5, but also can stretch if they need to. So kind of provide a little bit of versatility there.
He's from New South Wales. He's from Sydney, New South Wales.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, because he played on the NBA Global team, like a Global Academy. NBA Global Academy, that's what it is. Because there's another one. I want to say it is Kaya Barrage. I think he played on the same team or like a similar team in that same kind of division of teams. Because I can't remember where. I think he might be from Australia as well. I can't remember. He's from international somewhere. I can't remember.
Okay. It's a fun recruiting trip.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. They've hit Evansville always hits the international kids hard. Whenever Marty Simmons was there, like I mentioned, they always recruited kids from like Lithuania. They've got, Hughes from Australia, and I've seen that they've been trying to recruit some other kids international as well. So I think they're trying to think outside the box a little bit on what kind of talent they can get.
Yeah. I think, Josh Hughes, I don't know what the NBA Global Academy, translates to conference play, but I feel like, you always expect that freshman wall to kind of come in and come in. That obviously hits during, that conference season. But what was his career high last year? 22 against Missouri State.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he did that at Missouri State. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then 21 against SEMO. So, you've seen it in, kind of that high potential and flashes.
Absolutely.
But he can be, that like a steady force as well.
He's a guy that we talked about a lot last year too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember on several occasions we were talking about just what he was doing on the court for the Aces. So I love that. I mean, I always love, and I'm very much a proponent that, even if a player isn't a star as a freshman, like they're always going to take a jump.
100%.
I am always an advocate that players will always take a jump. Is not always the case, but that's just kind of the mentality that I take is. So I I'm excited to see what he can do.
I think it shows character to stay. With the transfer portal, he could have went anywhere. And he's got a higher ability than most people do. So he could have probably, I'm not saying power conference yet, but he could have transferred to a better mid major. There's no doubt. And he decided to stick around. Same thing with Tanner Cuff. He was really crucial in a lot of games last year. I didn't really know what he was going to feel like coming in, but he is fun to watch. He can handle the ball, and at 6'6", 6'7", like you don't really expect that all the time. But he's another guy. Him and Hughes both coming back. Like both of them could have transferred to a better school. And being able to say, like, again, it kind of goes back to Ragland building that culture at Evansville and like saying like, okay, we can keep talent in a day and age where talent transfers constantly.
I was going to bring that
shows
up.
What they're building.
I was going to mention that, as I think it shows it's a real testament of what Coach Ragland is doing in Evansville, not only with the program, but just I see before every game, I feel like I saw him videos of him on Twitter, just doing things out in the community, like giving free swag to fans or free tickets, things like that. I think that's huge for the Evansville community. So I'm excited to see what he can build there.
Yeah, and Hummerkaus had nothing but positive things to say about him when we had him on. Obviously when your best player decides to transfer, you can handle that one of two ways. And, he was obviously super, super supportive and wants the best for all of his players, whether that's with him or not. So we love Ragland, and I'll tell him, we'll reach out. I'll say Elliott sent us to have you on. He'll definitely say yes then.
Yeah, him and the AD, they're both great guys. They're doing a lot for that school. So, as an alumni, I'm excited. And, they're doing a lot of NIL collective work with a bunch of alumni as well. And, they travel, like the AD comes to every single game. I went to the game at Belmont down here in Nashville, and they were all talking about, trying to build that community and continue building the program past kind of pretty much leave the dark years behind us and just keep moving forward into this new NIL world.
Yeah. Let's talk about their schedule a little bit. They've got we have their non-con schedule. There's 11 games. North Texas, Rishia, I butchered that. MTSU, Radford, Ohio State is a big one. Green Bay, Campbell, Western Kentucky, Chattanooga, UT Arlington, Ball State. Elliott, you've got some picks, right? You've got some predictions.
I do. I'm putting my neck out there on this one. I'm going to put my neck out here on them and another school here in a little bit just because it's fun. So,
the brave man.
Yeah, overall, this is a much better schedule than we scheduled last year. We played 4 Ohio Valley schools, including SEMO twice, and SEMO was like one of the worst teams in the Ohio Valley. So, this is a lot better. So I don't expect it. I think we were 9-2 in non-conference last year. So, I don't expect that again. But this go around, all right, I'm just going to go game by game here and make my picks. I've got us losing to North Texas because I think North Texas was very good last year. I think they're going to be good again this year. We're going to beat Brescia. Brescia's an NIAI school. They're out of Owensboro, Kentucky. Tiny. Their campus is like a block. So obviously, I think we'll win that one. MTSU, actually, I was losing that game. I think MTSU is going to be pretty solid again this year. I got us beating Radford. Radford had a little bit of down season, and they got pretty dismantled in the portal. Ohio State, obviously, I'm taking that as an L. Not even going to debate that one. Then Green Bay, I got us winning that one because, Gottlieb just took over. So brand new coach, brand new team.
He's still doing his daily radio show.
He is. I respect that, honestly. That's a power move.
I didn't realize he was still doing
it's great till you're losing.
Yeah, I was going to say, whenever Green Bay's like 5-20, people might be saying, hey, cut the show.
Oh, my God. And if they're losing, he's going to make them run during his show. You guys are running till I'm off the air.
Let's see. I got us beating Campbell, losing to WKU. I think WKU is always historically good. I think that one's at the Ford Center, but I think that one's still going to be tough. Got us beating Chattanooga again. I went to that game last year when Ben Hummerkaus single-handedly overcome a 20-point deficit. That was fun. So I think they'll be out for blood, but I think it's at home, so we'll be fine. UT Arlington's on the road. I got us winning that one, and sorry, but I got us beating Ball State again. So we did win that game last year, so I'm gonna knock that one again. So I got us going 7-4 non-con.
I think Ball State Evansville is a budding rivalry.
It really is. Like both teams are kind of in the same boat.
Yeah. there's always a chip on both teams' shoulders. I think really anytime an in-state team plays each other, I think there's always that extra chip on the shoulder. But it was, if I remember correctly, there was some heat in our mentions about the Ball State
Probably.
Evansville game. So
Was it really?
Yeah.
I might be making that up, but I feel like, and it might have been one-sided. I'm not going to say.
That's usually how it goes. One side retweets something and then it just
Yeah.
blows up.
Yeah, but that's a game I'm excited for. I think that's going to be a game that really lets both teams know what they're capable of.
Absolutely. And, it's
Or
kind of
them
last
should be
game
full.
going into conference. So, I think there's going to be a lot more. And especially after last year, Evansville coming into the season wasn't supposed to be very good. Kind of beat Ball State hard. So I think Ball State's also going to be looking for blood this time. So
Yeah.
that always makes things even more exciting.
Yeah, you have Western Kentucky doing something that Ball State cannot do, winning in the Ford Center. So I hope they win that game. If they can ever prove you wrong, I hope it's on some of these L's they flip to W's.
I would love
your
that.
house,
7-4 the non-con's not bad, especially after, with a tougher schedule. Like a lot of these are pretty good mid majors.
Yeah,
Ohio
I love
State,
what
good
they scheduled
mid-major.
this year. I think this was perfect, kind of a nice step forward. The record might not be there like it was last year, but I think that's shown that they think they're going to compete more in conference. They kind of make up for that.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can schedule a tougher non-con at a mid-major, like, test your team, like, go for it, because you're not getting you're not getting an at-large bid.
No,
like Indiana State definitely proved that. Like, you're not getting an at-large bid, so you might as well try. Obviously not try and play like Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, Kansas. Not like that, but like schedule. A tougher. Have some teams that are going to be like a little bit better than the teams in your conference, maybe same level, to kind of prepare and not just kind of walk through it. So I like that a lot. I like the scheduling a lot this year.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the Aces can do. I'm also excited to see what this school can do. New name, same logo, I guess.
New name, same school.
Same, yeah. IU Indy, formerly IUPUI. So here's a question, Adam. At what point should we stop saying formerly? We just not acknowledge it at all and
we just move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. IU Indy, they preseason ranked 356 according to Torvik. That is a jump up from pretty much where they lived all of last season.
360
and the 360s. So
like I think it was 360 on the dot, right? Last year.
That sounds right.
360, 362.
Yeah, something like that. But this team's really interesting to me because it's an entirely new team. They didn't return a single player. They have a new head coach, Paul Corsaro, who was extremely successful at the Division II level, leading University of Indianapolis. So another Indy local school, familiar with the area, knows how to win. Over the last 3 years, he was 19-11, 26-5, and then 23-9. And they were, I think, the last 2 seasons, the number 1 seed in their region for the Division II NCAA tournament. So he's a winner. He's a winning coach. We saw it with Coach Shirts at Indiana State, that just because they're making the jump up a level doesn't mean that winning doesn't translate. The interesting though is this team, like I said, there's not returning any players. Got a really interesting team composition. They brought
I think that's
guys from D2.
I think that's a good thing though. Like I liked, obviously we talked about the team all year. Love a lot of those guys, want them to do well. None of them are here anymore, but I think that is the best thing. Him just have a clean break, start this program over, and establish the culture with the guys that he wants there, and guys that want to be at IU Indy. Obviously everyone entered the transfer portal. I obviously don't have any inside information on who wanted to come back, who didn't, but it seems pretty clear that he wanted to establish his culture right away.
I think it helps that a lot of it, like I said, there's seven D2 up transfers, a couple JUCO, a number of freshmen. These are all guys that, in my opinion, are great for him to have because they're guys that want to be there. They're guys that want to be there. They're guys that want to prove themselves. Especially, I always think JUCO transfers or any up transfer, from D2 to D1 or even D3 up to D1, whatever that it looks like, is those are guys that want to prove themselves. They want to show that, okay, we can play at the Division 1 level. And I think that they're going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, we could rattle off all these names to you, but it's gonna be nothing to you
It's gonna be
until the
10
season
minutes
goes.
of reading just
Yeah.
stats and names.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like we could talk about like, oh, they've got people that average like 13 points at UND, but they had a lot of people who were all Great Lakes Conference, which is where they he pulled a lot of people from UND. He pulled a lot of people from the conference as well, and they were all conference players at a D2 team that was, some of them on the number 1 seed for their NCAA tournament. So like when you're talking about like the highest level of Division 2 versus, I mean, literally where they were last year at the literal bottom of Division 1, it might be an improvement,
Mm-hmm. I think we talked about that with a few of the coaches that we interviewed. I think both Coach Sprue and Coach Graves, I think we talked about both those things with them of there's not a big gap between high level D2 and low level D1. And sometimes the high level D2 are better
Yep.
than
the low
and
level
the
D1.
JUCO guys.
Yeah. So,
yeah, like there are some teams that we, this year when we get into like previews, they will be bringing in a lot of JUCO guys, but it's guys with proven production, and I think that that's what Corsaro was going for here: proven production, willingness to buy into his culture, and kind of just like pick up where he left off, but new name, a little bit down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think what I like about this too is you guys kind of hit on this a little bit there. He's kind of creating a new brand for IUND, right? It's a new name, new team. Are they going to be great? They're probably not going to be that. The record's probably not going to be 500. The record's probably not going to be over 500. Like it's going to take some time to really build this. But they're getting a new stadium, a new arena. It's going to be on campus. This kind of gives him, until that arena's done, like I don't know how long it's going to take, 2, 3, 4 year gap, whatever that is, to kind of build this culture with these guys. Like you say, get these guys in here that want to be there. They were literally the bottom of the bottom. You can only go up from there. So kind of take the time, build something right, start fresh. You got a new identity, all this stuff. Like this is honestly a really good scenario for IUND. Like I'm gonna be rooting for these guys because like it's just gonna be fun to watch because you kind of want to see those underdogs come out and who knows, they knock a few people off in the Horizon League and like Detroit Mercy's in a much worse situation than IUND is. So in terms of that, like they're going to win some games. I think they're going to be better than some people think. It kind of gives me that Evansville feel. They don't know where to rank them because it's an entirely new team. So we're going to rank them 356. Again, do I think they're going to be 200? Nope. But I do think they could be much higher in the 300, or I'm sorry, much lower in the 300s by the end of the season.
Yeah, I think this ranking definitely has the potential to be the most wrong out of all of them because I don't know what Torvik's algorithm accounts for Division 2 stats. I don't know how that works.
My guess is it probably doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a body. They've got an all right schedule this year. They're playing IU Columbus, Xavier, Goshen. So we've got some non-D1 games on there. Eastern Michigan, Iowa State. That if they win that Iowa State game, like we're partying in the streets of Indianapolis. That'd be like the equivalent of Evansville beating
it would be
Kentucky because Iowa State's probably going to be a top 5 team preseason. South Carolina State, Coastal Carolina. I would imagine, I don't know if that's an MTE or if they're just going to hit them all at once. Alabama A&M, Trinity Christian, Lindenwood, and FIU. So got some pretty good games on there. Obviously, some games to some buy games, but some games where they're going to be tested and try and show people that D2 players can play with the best. But Elliot, this is the one where you're calling your shot, right? Again,
I'm calling my
back-to-back
shot on
teams.
this one. I'm kind of going out there. I'm saying they're finishing above 500 in non-conference. I'm saying that right now. I'm putting that out there. Mostly because they are playing 3 non-D1 schools. So that helps. I think obviously Goshen, Trinity Christian, and IU Columbus, they should be wins. Because, you're getting D2 talent that was on like the number one D2, number one seed in D2. Like these kids can obviously play. They should beat these guys. So I'm picking those 3 as wins. Obviously, we're taking an L at Xavier. We're taking an L at Iowa State.
Whoa. There's no obviously. There's most likely scenario. But it's always a but.
The 0.01% chance of they.
That's non-zero.
Exactly.
That's what we look for. I might have to smash the money line on that one or something. might see what happens there. I do think though there's some other schools that can beat here: South Carolina State, Alabama A&M, Lindenwood, and FIU. They're all winnable games. These are other teams that are kind of in the similar boat. Lindenwood transitioned from D2 D1. They should be able to win that game, in my opinion. I think Lindenwood's not in a great scenario. FIU's not in a great scenario. Alabama A&M was also one of the worst teams in college basketball last year, and South Carolina State was definitely in the 300s in terms of rankings. So putting it out there, I think they go 6-5 in non-conference. Call them a shot. I could be totally wrong. IU Indy might win 3 games this year, and it's all on D1 schools. But also, I think they can win.
Hey, 6-5. That ties their win record last season. They had 6 wins overall last season. So
hey, I think they can win 10 plus games this season. I really do. Because like some of those teams in the horizon are in also not great scenarios. And I think Corso's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He's going to want to win year 1. So that way he can keep building his team. Winning doesn't have to be winning 15, 20 games. Winning can be winning 10 games from a team that was bottom of the barrel. It's taking that step forward, essentially.
Yeah, we saw what we talked about Ragland just a few minutes ago. Of first season, 5-27. Second season, 17-18.
No,
so
absolutely.
It definitely is not an immediate effect in most cases. So anything positive, in the positive direction is what we look for.
Yeah, this one's probably my favorite roster overall, because when guys come in that they're usually an assistant or coming over from somewhere else, and it's like, okay, how are they going to build it? Are they going to build it to win now with the transfer portal? Are they going to try and build it up? And he's obviously doing something different and just bringing like a whole team effectively. But another guy that has to build another team is our next team, and that is Matt Graves at Indiana State. They are 194th in Torvik preseason, and if I think that IU Indy has the potential to be the most wrong, this one's up there, because I don't think that like it can really account for the amount of production. I'm not saying they're going to be a 300 team. I'm saying that it's going to look very different, and we're very positive on the Matt Graves hire. We think he gets it. He wants to be there. Like his goal is to retire as a Sycamore. But he did get the job later, and that hurt. Josh Schertz, obviously, their NIT championship game run meant that the job did not open until he left, and has to replace all 5 starters. And they basically played 6 guys last year, and all 6 of them are gone. So in the same way that IU Indy is like a literal complete restart, this one is you have someone who kept a couple players, was in the program, but had to bring in fresh new bodies to replace that production.
They're returning a combined 15 minutes per game, 6.1 points per game. And this is a team that averaged probably in the 90s in scoring. So,
and that's like Derek Force.
Yeah,
that's like him. Like those are his numbers, basically.
Pretty much. Yeah. So they're going to be interesting. They had several key pickups. Shamash Teal from Presbyterian is a transfer. He averaged over 13 points a game. Tyron Cook, a VMI transfer, 12 points a game. Marcus Harding, a Central Michigan transfer, 10 points a game. And then Kemp Wagner, who's a Rice transfer, did not play a whole lot. He was only playing like 3.5 minutes a game, but he's an almost 40% 3-point shooter. So they are losing a lot of 3-point shooting.
Mhm.
So having a guy that can shoot almost 40% on very low minutes, I think is a positive sign for what Indiana State is going to be able to do.
Yeah, Elliot, what are you thinking about the Sycamores this next season?
I don't know. I don't know.
Obviously,
how
they're going to take a
one.
step back.
Yeah, I don't know how to
Obviously.
rank 194. I really
Yeah.
don't. That a lot of that's probably built off last year. But
Mhm.
last year Shorts was pretty much running a team of like 6 guys in rotation,
Yeah.
sometimes 7, depending on foul trouble. But there's just, in my opinion, and maybe I'm totally wrong, I just don't see how Indiana State finishes above 10th in the Missouri Valley, because the Missouri Valley is wide open this year. There's been a lot of turnover, but I think Matt Graves is going to be do a great job, but
Mhm.
it's what you guys said. He got hired so late. He kind of got screwed from the get go. He pretty much had to build with what he could. Again, we keep calling it like Raglan, but kind of like Raglan, hired late in the season. You kind of just got to take what you can get at that point in time. The portal did help because, there's still a lot of guys. I think Teal can be a solid guy. I think Cook can be a solid. Cook was being looked at by a lot of other mid majors as well. Like, I think that he can piece together something decent at Indiana State. I just think that Indiana State fans are going to probably be in for a rough season. I think it's going to be pretty hard for them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's going to be rough. I think that they're going to come on a little bit later in the season, but I think that the Sycamore fans understand that like what we had last year was special. I mean,
Yeah.
like that was an Indiana State team like they haven't seen, since the 70s. And so it's like, okay, we get it. We know it's going to be different, but I think they're going to be understanding, and I hope that they can surprise some people, and we're excited about that. Talking about something completely different than this is a team that does not have much roster overhaul, and that's Purdue Fort Wayne. They are actually, I think, our highest preseason team of the mid majors at 146 than Torvik, and I think that's fair to low for them because they returned 4 of their 5 starters. They lost Anthony Roberts, was their only starter that they lost. But I mean, their guards that they're bringing back are just so good. Like they bring back Quentin Morton Robertson, they bring back Jalen Jackson, they bring back Rasheed Bello, and then they bring back, I mean, the most important piece, the hardest working man in America. They bring back Eric Mulder down low. So I mean, when you bring back Eric Mulder, that's the key to success. But they lost in the CIT finals to Norfolk State 75-67, and they had so much travel. Like, you remember that, Jaren? They had Norfolk State played 2 home games back to back, I think, in the CIT, and Purdue Fort Wayne had to travel across the country.
Yeah, and I mean, Purdue Fort Wayne, they were leading that game for most of it, I think, and then towards the end they kind of
fell off.
And I think travel probably played a big part in that. I mean, talk about that 146 ranking, like you mentioned, that's higher than they were ranked at any point last season, other than there were 2 weeks where they were ranked 136 and 144. So that's, you don't see that often, I don't think, from a team who from any mid-major, really, is they stay consistent, but they got better.
Yeah.
They didn't get better because they brought in several pieces. They got better because they kept several pieces, which I think is incredibly important. And it's a testament to what Coach Kaufman is doing with the Mastodons.
Yeah. Elliott called his shot. I'm calling my shot. I think that this is the year. I think that this is the year that they get into the tournament. They've never done it. Purdue Fort Wayne has never made it to the tournament. I think that this squad is capable of doing it. They were all young together last year. They are absolutely capable of doing it. And this is 2 years after they had to replace all 5 starters.
Yeah. So, Elliot, what do you think with the Mastodons?
I think there was a point in time last year they were on my top 25 mid-major list. I think I had to knock them out at some point in time. I don't remember when. It was pretty early. It was in December because they were just dominating conference play or non-conference. I think they were like 10-2 or something. Like, it was very impressive.
They beat DePaul.
Oh, that's right.
to
Oh,
open
yeah.
the season.
Hey, it counts. It counts as a big win.
That's when, but that's before, obviously it's a great win, but that's before people knew how bad DePaul was going to end up.
So, with that being said, they're going to be in my top 25 preseason poll, I think, for sure. Returning this level of talent, and every time you regain people who have played, especially playing at the same school in the same system, they're setting themselves up for a dominate. Obviously this conference is always super difficult, but I think with because did they lose in the championship, right, in the tournament?
No, they
Semis, I
lost
think.
in the
The
quarterfinals.
quarterfinals, but they lost to the
Horizon League
winner,
Championship. Yeah.
right?
That's
Yeah.
what it was. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So,
So
I think
effectively third place,
Yeah.
right? I think that's how
Yeah.
that works.
that's
I think
math.
that's how that works.
Something like
You
that.
lost to the team that won it, but so did the team that came in second, and we'll give them third.
We'll give them third. It counts. But yeah, I think these guys are going to be really good. They're going to be fun to watch. These type of schools that have never made the tournament obviously kind of gives some something extra to cheer for too as fans.
Yeah, and I mean, Adam, you talked about they lost in the CIT finals. We kind of glossed over it. Their biggest achievement last season was them, in my opinion, right? It sounds bad to say this, so I want to preface that, but they lost to Oakland in the quarterfinals. Oakland went on to win. Oakland then made the NCAA tournament, and because of that, that gave the world Jack Golke, America's sweetheart, through the tournament. It also gave Arkansas Coach Cal, because Oakland beat Kentucky. Coach Cal left Kentucky and is now in Arkansas. So I'd say Coach Cal is a contentious name in the college basketball space because of everything he accomplished at Kentucky. But now he's no longer at Kentucky, so it gave the world a fresh Kentucky slate.
It all comes back to Purdue, Fort Wayne. I love the transitive theory.
But it even goes
That'll
back
be.
farther than that, and it goes back to Evansville.
That's actually true.
It
Evansville
starts
started
with
the Fire
Evansville.
Coach Cal train. I believe that. Yeah.
I think at one point last year, or maybe it was after they lost to Oakland, I put that picture of like the domino.
The
and it gets
dominoes?
bigger and bigger, and it was like the
Yeah.
tiniest one was I posted was
It's
like losing to Evansville, like Coach Cal to Arkansas. I think that's definitely how it worked. And like the second to last one was Purdue Fort Wayne losing to Oakland. Indiana.
Also, I think
just
we're going to
killing
see
them.
Jack Golke in the G League, so that's going to be fun enough. So,
That will
he
be
played some in
awesome.
the summer league, and that was fun.
He's a guy you got to keep on just for the brand.
Yeah, the guy that you can't hate. Can't hate him at all.
This next team we're not going to talk about super in depth because we have had an assistant coach and a player on our show in the last 2 months. But that's Southern Indiana. They're 305 in Torvik preseason right now. They lost their two best players, Jeremiah Hernandez and AJ Smith. So that was, AJ Smith basically a walking double-double, and Jeremiah Hernandez, their leading scorer, shooting 10 trillion shots from the foul line. So they lose big production, but they bring back the legend Sam Mervis. Obviously, they bring back Jack Milkey. Average 6.7 points per game, and then they're bringing in some other people like Braxton Jones from Garden City JUCO, Sam Cody from Western Texas JUCO, and so then Stephen, I'm gonna butcher this last name, Oluwanai from VMI. So they've got some good pieces coming in, and it sounds like things have been competitive in practice, and like they are ready to like make that next step up.
Yeah, what do you think, Elliot? Where are you at with the
this is a
Spriegels?
school that's super interesting because, like, obviously they had a lot of history at D2, transferred up, were pretty good their first year, took a major step back. The good news is Ohio Valley is not a strong conference, so I think Southern USI has a great chance to kind of take that step forward, like you all said. Obviously, losing Hernandez Smith is tough. I think the way that I have the Ohio Valley looking is like they are just one of the teams that could be middle of the pack, could be bottom third as well, just kind of somewhere in that range. Because the Ohio Valley is like pretty much wide open outside of SIUE, in my opinion. So like seeing those teams, I think they could be fine. I think it'll be these small schools got to rely on JUCO pretty much. JUCO and freshmen come in, contribute their first year at the school. Seeing Braxton Jones come in, kind of with some of the pieces they have returning as well. I think they're going to be better than they were last year because there were some rough times last year, and that was despite having AJ Smith and Hernandez, and trying to replace those guys is going to be tough. But I think that again, with Ohio Valley being what it is, I think it gives them a reasonable chance to continue to build forward as well.
Yeah, and they just had so many tough losses, close losses last year.
Yeah, they really did.
And obviously, like their record could have been 4 or 5 games better because they had just so many close losses.
Yeah. So I'm excited about see what the Squiggles can do. They squeaked into the OVC tournament last year, and I'd like to see them kind of like you said, middle of the pack, very confidently making that, and
with the OVC tournament being at Evansville, they really need to make the tournament. That makes it so much more fun when you're the hometown team playing, and them and UE both. But them in the Ohio Valley makes it so fun. It's a fun environment.
Yeah, so let's talk about our last school, Valpo. They are 251 preseason in Torvik. They lost Jerome Palm, Jahari Williamson, Sherman Weatherspoon, and Jackson Edwards. They all transferred out. All impactful players for them. The most impactful player, my biggest concern about this season is Isaiah Stafford. He had knee surgery. He's questionable for the season. He was their leading scorer last year. So that's, I think, a big question mark on, their success for the season. Like, yes, they've got Cooper Swieger, and then they added Cooper's twin, Carson, who was a red shirt from Wright State last season. So it'll be, I mean, Carson and on paper was better than Cooper in high school. So who knows what that looks like? It'll be interesting to see if they play together on the court, or if it's just when Cooper checks out, Carson checks in, and you've got his slightly different looking twin
Swieger's
brother
on the floor at all times.
Yeah. That might be a narrative there. Swieger was on the floor at all times throughout the season. But I think it's gonna be really interesting to see what they can do. They're still kind of building with a new coach.
And he was pretty kind of upfront from the very beginning about he didn't want to build a team that could just win his first year. Like, he wanted to build a team that would have success over a long period of time and rely on guys, which is hard to do this day and age in basketball, because anyone can leave at any time. But like, they in the Missouri Valley, they had top or one of the top percentage of returning minutes this upcoming season. So like that in it of itself is huge, especially if they can get Stafford back. Like, they need him.
Stafford literally makes or breaks their season. Like, he's that level of player. So if he is eligible to play, that changes my prediction about them dramatically. Like, I think that they could go to being 8th, 7th, somewhere. Again, though, Missouri Valley's wide open this year, so like anything could really happen. But Stafford is that kind of guy. He just makes that level of impact. And Cooper Schwieger is so fun to watch. I don't like that kid is fun to watch play basketball. So I love that he's coming back. And I know that Tyler Schmidt's coming over from NAIA. Dude averaged 24 points a game. That's very impressive. And that's we're seeing a lot of these NAIA guys come over and transfer up to Division One. Again, Ben Hummerkaus is another candidate, so it could be another guy that's like really helps Valpo kind of take the next step forward in what they're building there.
Yeah, and I think this is like our third team that plays Ohio State.
Yeah,
year.
Nice.
Like they're all Missouri Valley, right?
And they are all Valley teams. Yeah,
Diebler's just making his way through the Valley.
It's Valley because Diebler's from Valpo. Like, he went to Valpo. So he's paying it back,
Also, our second team that's going to be playing at the John Wooden Fieldhouse in Ohio. That's fun. Valpo plays Liberty there to open the season. So it'll be fun to see what Valpo can do behind the I'm going to say for now behind the Swieger twins, just because we don't know what Stafford's availability looks like yet.
Yeah. So those were our 7. Dude, it's hard to not say 11 every time. Those were our 7 our 7 Indiana mid-major teams. So now, since Elliott is kind of our resident mid-major expert on this one, I want to hear what mid-major teams should we watch out for this upcoming season? Like, who is on your radar? Who should be on our radar this upcoming season?
Yeah, I know we're probably like way over time here, so like I'll kind of rip through these a little bit quicker. I do want to take some time.
As
My
long as
number
you don't
one.
have to go anywhere.
Oh,
We're
beautiful.
here
Okay, we can talk
we're here
basketball all night. All right, let's go. Number one shouldn't be a surprise to a lot of people. McNeese State. They're going to be so good next year. I like firmly believe that if they have one loss at the end of the year, we could, and lose in the championship of the Southland Conference, we could have a 2-bit Southland. Like, they're going to be that good. I'm going to rip through. I have the roster up here, and I just want to rip through some of these guys who have transferred, like the schools they've transferred from. They have a kid from UT San Antonio, Utah, Tulsa, Providence, Louisiana, Syracuse, St. Louis, Ole Miss, St. Louis, and Arizona State. I mean, it is just like a ton of power conference people. I don't even know how Will Wade's going to like piece all these guys together. And that's not even counting Christian Shoemate's coming back. DJ Richards is coming back as well. Both guys were, big pieces with Shahada Wells last year on the runs that they did. Can't lie, they disappointed me during the tournament. I had them going to the Sweet 16. I think a lot of people did. I'm guilty as charged, overhyping them probably a little bit more going up again, because who they lose to who'd they get drilled by? Duke, Kansas? It was
one of those two.
No, Kansas played Samford. That's who they played.
Yes, and I think it was Duke, right?
I'll
find it for you. You keep ripping through.
Yeah. So anyway, they got a ton of talent coming back, and they scheduled another tough conference. They're playing Mississippi State, Alabama. They're doing the Paradise Jam as well. There's some solid mid majors in there, solid power schools as well. Like Kansas State's on the opposite end of the bracket there. So like they're going to start playing Illinois State in that one. Then they're going to play either Longwood or UAB in the second round. And then, depending on how far they go, they can play their talent as well. So like they're playing a tough schedule. They built even more in the portal. I mean, this team could be ranked also at one point in time. And I would highly doubt a Southland team's ever been ranked in AP history. So if they have, probably some fluke, I don't know. But like this team is going to be special. And you should absolutely bet on. You should watch them. Like 10 out of 10 recommend McNeese State.
Yeah,
Will Wade is a beast.
It's Will Wade. They played Gonzaga last year.
That's who
they were the 12 seed to Gonzaga's 5 seed, and I had them beating Gonzaga, and that did not happen. I only had them having one game, but I was wrong.
I think they were playing on the opposite end of Samford, because I think I had a Samford McNeese State round of 32.
Yep.
That's what I was looking for.
I think I had McNeese. I might have had them winning the Sweet 16. They're a team. I love Will Wade. And I know that is a very interesting thing to say, because a lot of people don't love Will Wade. I feel like he's one of those guys that you either love him or you hate him. And I love him.
He was just cutting edge, man. He was just cutting edge.
He was just ahead of NIL's time. Well, I think what's cool is he's doing this at a small school at McNeese State. Like, he could go somewhere else, but he chose to stay here another year. He's probably going to get, whatever, $5-10 million contract next season. But like, it's so cool he's doing this at a small school like this. Like, what it means to the alumni that's donated to him, and like, again, in a small conference like the Southland, like, freakish things could happen. You could have a 2-bit Southland. Like, there's no way that's probably happened before. I mean, that'd be cool.
I couldn't tell you the last time that would have happened.
But number two, people should also be familiar with this team. I got Duquesne. They obviously beat BYU, upset them as a 12 seed, totally went off the charts, won the A10 tournament to even get in the tournament in the first place. Duquesne has historically not met their expectations year after year. The last couple of years in particular, they were supposed to be better than they were. In A10 play, I'm pretty sure they started off 0-6 in the last season, and then proceeded to just dominate the rest of it. Ended up winning the A10 tournament. It was fun to watch. Duquesne is a super small school, so again, kind of like one of those schools that's like fun to root for. And they lost some key pieces. They lost Day Grant. That was like their main guy, who I can't remember what team he signed with Anyway, he's in the NBA or G League or something. Anyway, one of those things. So, they had some really high talented guys there. Lost a ton of pieces, but he hit the transfer portal really hard. He got a lot of guys that were underrated. Like he got a guy from Chicago State was averaging like 19 points a game. He got Trey Dinkins from Canisius. He was highly sought after. Alex Williams from Furman, Maximus Edwards from George Washington, Elijah Wilborn. He was from St. Francis, PA, super small school, but as a freshman was dominating down there. And I know we hit on the FIBA under 20 tournament earlier. Jacob Nikas didn't play a whole lot. He did score like 14 points against BYU, I'm pretty sure. And I actually did an article about Duquesne's offseason recently, and I got some flack from Duquesne fans about not talking about him enough. And then he proceeded to go to the FIBA tournament and average like 19 points a game. And I was like, oh, I get it now. Okay, this guy's good. I was like, okay.
So many teams to cover. You can't know everything.
Exactly. It's hard to, especially like he didn't play much. He only I think he was averaging like 2 or 3 points a game last season. So, but with them and some of the talent he's got coming back to get Drew Joyce is going to like really have a good team next year. A10 is obviously always good, but I'm rooting for a 3-bid A10 team, A10 conference next year. Like I really think like Loyola is going to be good again. SLU obviously is going to be good with shirts. Like A10 is going to be fun to watch, but Duquesne's going to be underrated again. I guarantee it. Book it. Put my neck out there. They make the tournament again next year. I'm manifesting it.
I'm here for it, but you think that
means
the whole team's going to be wearing LeBrons?
Well, we need that. Like I was rooting so hard for Bronny to transfer to Duquesne. That would have been so cool.
That would have been wild, but instead he went and got an insane rookie contract with the Lakers. But that means we just need to spend the rest of the season from now until February helping educate people on how to pronounce Duquesne, because it does not look like it should be pronounced the way it is. It looks like Duquesne, and a lot of people said that.
It blew my mind because like I've known Duquesne from being a basketball fan forever, right? And I've just known that's Duquesne, and then like I guess it just never really like I never thought about it because like this year everyone was saying Duquesne. And I was like, what are you talking? That says Duquesne clear as day. That is obviously Duquesne. Come on.
I remember actually almost went to graduate school at Duquesne, and I had signed up and all this other stuff, and I had a sweatshirt, and everybody at UE would be saying like, Duquesne, where even is that? Like they had nobody knew what that school was or like how to pronounce it. It was so funny.
Duquesne,
awesome. All
I
right.
like that. I like both of these so far.
Third one should be another familiar one. This team obviously has a lot of history recently, but got a new coach, a familiar coach for many people in Charleston. So College of Charleston, I've got them highly considered on my lists as well. Chris Mack, famous Louisville coach. I don't know if we want to say famous, but Chris Mack's coming back to popular, coming back to Charleston. He's got some nice transfers coming in. He actually returned some of the Charleston's pieces as well. He didn't have to completely start from scratch. Darren Boyd from Lipscomb. Me being in Nashville, I actually went to a couple of Lipscomb games last year. Guy is so fun to watch. He did tear his ACL. It can actually, oddly enough, he was at the game. And like whenever he went up for the play that he tore his ACL on, I was like, oh no, I think that dude just tore his ACL. But anyway, so hopefully he returns and he's healthy again. He's great. AJ Smith from Citadel, not USI. He was also highly sought after. A lot of these guys that he's picked up here were pretty solid. There's a guy from Delaware State. Not people know Delaware State, but DeWilt Terez. I'm going with DeWilt Terez. We're going with that. But he averaged over 13 points at Delaware State. There was a couple guys at Delaware State last year that were pretty highly sought after in transfer portal. So he's kind of picked up a lot of lower mid-major pieces, kind of true mid-major pieces, like out of Lipscomb and all them. Also got a guy from Xavier. So like, I think Chris Mack's assembled a pretty solid team again here. Charleston's been building off a lot of momentum recently, and I think he kind of picks that up. A lot of time with these coaching changes, who knows what's going to happen in his first year on the job, but Chris Mack's Chris Mack. He was going to have no problem recruiting. That name carries value in college basketball, so I'm happy with what he's done.
Yeah, I'm excited. I like watching Charleston every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited to see what they can do with Chris Mack. I think he's a good coach. I know if you're a Louisville fan, you probably have different opinions, but I like Chris Mack. He's a guy. He knows ball. He knows ball. He knows how to build a team. Knows how to win with a team. So I like to
It's also
see.
so funny that, Charleston's former coach went to Louisville. So, you get that nice little connection there as well.
Yeah, I
Louisville
think
fans
that's
are probably, shrugging their shoulders at this one. But.
I think that's a fun
And
little connection.
I feel like Louisville. I don't know. Do Louisville fans hate him more for leaving and then that bringing in Kenny Payne, or do
They
Xavier
got
fans hate him more for leaving to go to Louisville? I mean, Xavier at least eventually, got back to Sean Miller, Back to the Future. I feel like Louisville has to hate him more because it led to Kenny. Led to
It
the
led to Kenny.
worst, the worst 2 seasons.
I mean, they probably hate him more
history.
now. At the
Yeah.
time, Louisville fans were high on Kenny Payne. Kenny Payne was like, I have a cousin who's a huge Louisville fan. He was like, Kenny Payne is going to change Louisville basketball. He did.
Yeah.
Just
He
not
did
in a way a
technically
lot of fans
change it.
thought.
Yeah. I feel like maybe they don't hate him more now. They just are regretful because they bullied him out of there. They just bullied the man out of the job.
That's probably a good way to put it.
What a disaster.
Yeah. Do you think Chris Mack stays doing Field of 68 since Gottlieb is still doing his show?
I hope. That would be so cool. I respect these guys. I don't know. I feel like Chris Mack will. I feel like he'll win on. I don't know if he's made an announcement on that. But
you have one more?
I got one more. And this one's my underrated pick that probably half the people in this country don't even know exists. But it is SIUE, so Southern Illinois, Edwardsville. As I mentioned earlier, the OVC is pretty down overall. A lot of guys transferred out, kind of got demolished from some of those top ones. SIUE has returned Rayshawn Taylor, who I've watched since he was a freshman. I wanted him to transfer to UE so bad. He is like next level talent, and he's the type of guy that he stayed there his entire career. He was a career guy. He's from Illinois somewhere. I can't remember where he's from. But anyway, he's kind of stayed around that hometown area, kind of been that kid that like everyone wants to root for. And then they picked up some solid guys in the transfer portal. They picked up Ring Mallett, Jameer Price, Miles Thompson, and Jordan Hamilton. And like none of those guys, and nobody's really going to know who they are, but like they've all put up significant numbers at their respective JUCOs and other schools. And this team, though, Ohio Valley being wide open, SIUE could make, and I'm making the projection. I made the projection when I covered them a few weeks ago that they're going to make the NCAA tournament for the first time. I think they're going to win the Ohio Valley. They have too many guys that are just, no offense, kind of better than the Ohio Valley level talent. So like, I just think that with what they've got coming in, and their fan base is actually really solid. Like for a satellite campus for Southern Illinois, you don't always get those. And, some people will rank them as like one of the toughest places to play in the Ohio Valley. They got a lot of dedicated fans. They've been really trying to build that brand out there. And they've had a really rough go in D1 since they transitioned up. I think it was 2012, 2011. It was somewhere around this. They've only been around like 10 seasons in D1. And I don't think they've ever finished above 500. So like they have a big chip on their shoulder. They've assembled a really good team. So I'm putting my neck out there saying they're going to win the Ohio Valley. They're going to go to the NCAA for the first time. Them and Purdue Fort Wayne. That's going to be your two teams.
Nice. Let me push back on that a little bit. Let me lay a hypothetical out here for you. Okay. It's in the Ford Center. Okay. Championship game. Ohio Valley Conference. SIUE loses to Southern Indiana. They lose, but Southern Indiana is ineligible. So SIUE still gets to go.
Okay, I can buy into that.
Can we root for that? Handshake on that.
Honestly, I would just pay money to go to the Ford Center in that type of environment for USI fans. I mean, I went to the Ohio Valley tournament in back-to-back years, actually, when Jaw was at Murray State. And let me tell you, the Ford Center sold out at those games was a blast. And I know it sell out if USI was there. Because I went to USI, they appeared in the D2 Elite 8. And that year they were in there, I think it was at the Ford Center. And it was packed with USI fans. It was a blast. So I know like if they did that in the Ohio Valley tournament, it'd be amazing.
That's what I'm rooting for. That way we both can get what we want.
Exactly. Okay, I can compromise with that. That works.
Well, gentleman's agreement that's the scenario we're rooting for.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that's what happened in the NEC whenever, or the NEC, whatever you call it, whenever FDU, right?
Yeah, when Bellarmine won.
Yep.
Yeah, because
Right?
FDU then Bellarmine had the same thing happen too, didn't they?
Yes, it was who beat FDU. I'm
Well,
gonna find this real time.
FDU was in the NEC, I think, right? Hold on, because they lost that's the
I will
team that
find
beat
this for
Purdue,
you.
obviously.
Yes, I'll find this for you. Uh,
Was it Merrimack?
Merrimack. They lost to Merrimack
Why do I
by
know these
1.
things?
You're the
Why do I know
mid-major guy.
that?
Yeah, you're supposed to know that.
Yeah. So when that happens, then people are going to be sweating that they pulled the team that didn't win and made it into the tournament.
Actually, fun for you all. SOUE plays IU this year. I think it's their opening game, so I might have to pick the Cougars over the Hoosiers, but we'll have to wait and see.
No way. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. I like these picks. Charleston is one team that I've been paying attention to. Duquesne, I've heard a lot of stuff about them from you, and I listened to your preview on them. And then McNeese, yeah, a classic pick. Will Wade wherever he goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But SIU, that is one I have not heard. I like that pick, and there's one team I pay attention to in the Ohio Valley, and it is not them.
Might have to add them to the list, man. Just saying.
Maybe if they
Buy stock now.
if they move, how close are they to the border? They can just shift right over. Well, that was fun. Do you want to rank some teams? I have not prepared you for this.
Let's do it.
So you can think of this maybe just what you think they're going to do next season. I have 5 teams, but you don't know who comes next. So you're going to have to blindly rank them.
Okay.
So I'll give you a refresher after every round on what spots you have left. So obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to start. First team I want you to rank blindly. Kent State. Golden Flashes.
1 through 5.
They were fun to watch at some games, man. They were fun. Oh man, this is hard. I'm gonna go 4. I'm gonna go 4 on the ranking.
Kent State at the 4 spot. Okay.
I'm betting that there's a team below. I'm putting stock in that.
All right. You think I'm not starting out strong? All right. Okay. So you have them 4th. Kent State at 4th. Next. Team close to you. Belmont Bruins.
Oh, Belmont got destroyed in the transfer portal. I mean, it was so bad. I mean, they pretty much lost, I think, kind of similar to both. They lost like their top 3 guys. One went to Maryland. Dia went, I can't remember where Dia went. Anyway, they all went to like power schools, pretty much. So I think they're going to be down a little bit. I'll put Belmont at 3.
3. Lost a lot of people, but they're still going to be better than Kent State, huh?
The thing about Belmont is they always assemble good teams.
That's true.
They always just have like a stupid amount of guys that shoot threes. So like regardless, they'll probably end up 500 in the Missouri Valley or something.
Hey, I mean, this is these teams were pretty good. So I mean, the next one I could throw you could be anybody. It could be
could be Coppin State.
It could be.
Put them at 1.
We're gonna go out east for this one. So you have Belmont at 3, Kent State at 4. Your 1, 2, and 5 are open. I'm gonna throw you Yale.
Yeah. Oh. I haven't seen what their team's been like, but Yale's always so consistent though. Like, because was last year they made the tournament last year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. Did they win or lose? They either made it or they were the favorite, and then they made it in, didn't they?
Okay.
Because I know they almost lost to Brown.
I have the bracket up. I'm trying.
They were 60. They ended the season 65th in Ken Palm. They lost to Vandy.
They beat Auburn,
and they lost
in the first round.
That's right.
Yeah. Sorry, I had the wrong year up. Yes, that's right. Because Jaren is famous in saying that they're good for at least the Ivy League is good for at least one.
Every year.
Every year, I count on the Ivy League to win the first round.
Oh man,
Princeton was a good year for you.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, Princeton, that was such a fun run. Oh, that was so fun.
Now, I don't
I'm
know
going
what
with
they lost in the transfer portal. I mean, I don't think they really
I
take
know, I'm gonna have to
transfers like
literally
that in
blind
the
this
Ivy
one.
League. So
I haven't Ivy League. I've neglected the Ivy League a little bit this offseason. I need to give them a little
it's
bit
not
of love.
very smart of you.
Ah. We're gonna go. Let's go one. Let's go one. with Yale.
One.
Wow.
Let's do it.
Okay.
One.
So you've
Will
got
he
2 and
regret
5
it? He's
open.
got 2 and 5. All right. Next. Be careful here.
I don't know. Now I'm scared because I only got 2 and 5, so this could go poorly.
The Purdue Fort Wayne Mastodons.
You're killing me. You're killing me. All right, I gotta go 2, but like,
Tough game. Ooh. So Yale, PFW, Belmont, Kent State, and that puts your number 5. You're not gonna like this.
Oh no! Please don't give me Evansville.
That would be so dirty. Samford.
Okay. The Kent State one bit me, and the Yale bit me.
Yale at 1 was a bold, but I mean, like you
I was
said,
just
I don't know
banking,
anything
I was
about Yale.
banking there was some
1.
other random team. I was really thinking there was going to be some like absolute random team in there, like Pacific or something. Like,
So your final rankings are Yale at 1,
oh man,
PFW at 2, Belmont at 3, Kent State at 4, and Samford at 5.
are y'all going to screenshot this and then at the end of this season?
Oh yeah, we're
like
gonna
next
aggregate
season?
you for sure. We're gonna post this out here, and this will be 4 of our. These will be five teams in the Elite 8.
We're going Purdue, Fort Wayne, Yale, and let's go Sanford and Elite 8.
There we
We
go.
love it. We love it.
Well, I mean, that was I wanted to throw a tough one for you for last, but Kent State first. I think it messed you up.
That threw me off. I didn't expect that one. Like they had some good games in the MAC last year. I can't remember. They
Mhm.
finished middle of the pack, I feel like they finished like maybe 6th, 5th,
They I don't know. Let's
or were
find
they
out.
like way worse than I'm thinking?
Didn't they? I typed in Kent on my search function, and it obviously came up Kentucky. I was like,
They
what?
finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th. They
8th,
finished
okay.
1 spot above Ball State.
Oh, I remember watching the last game because you were talking earlier about like I needed so and so to lose or win or whatever that was. I
Mhm.
actually remember that because I was watching that Kent State game at the end when they got into the tournament as a result. Yeah.
Let me give
Needless to say,
you.
ESPN Plus gets some use in my house. So
Let me give you a game here. Last season, Kent State lost at home in double overtime, 113 to 108.
it was the who was that conference? It was the MAC versus who was it? Was the Sun Belt, MAC or Sun Belt?
Yep, that's the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
It's no. Because Toledo had another one, right? Where it was just like crazy overtime, I feel like.
Let me tell you. I'll pull that up. Toledo had a double overtime game against App State in the return game for the Sun Belt MAC Challenge.
Because I remember that Sun Belt MAC Challenge was so fun to watch.
Yeah.
There were so many good games there. I love that thing.
Toledo pulled that one off 109, 104 in double overtime. But
yeah, because I think I had App State in my top 25 at that point. I had like bumped them out after that. Kent State, who did they play?
Another mid-major team. Obviously, it's in the Sun Belt. Just think good Sun Belt teams. Don't think too hard on good Sun Belt teams here. Like very good Sun Belt teams last year. Some would say the best Sun Belt team.
Man, I would consider App State the best. Oh wow.
They made the tournament.
Oh my god, who made the tournament for them? This is so bad. Oh man, I'm being exposed as a fake mid-major.
It's the Trevor. I did not prepare you for this. It's the trivia pressure. They lost.
I'm trying to even think who's played in this. Okay,
They lost 4
Belt.
games. 3 regular season games.
Oh my god.
They also lost to App State.
Because they were playing.
twice.
Yeah, they lost to App State, and it was a whole thing about who was going to get the 1 seed. Oh, Oh my gosh.
They
They're
dismantled
good in football. They're
Wisconsin.
good in football too.
They dismantled Wisconsin 72-61 in
Yep.
the first round, lost to Duke
Oh my god.
93-55. IU football loves this
I don't know
team.
why I keep having Troy in my head. I know it's not Troy,
Uh-huh.
but like I keep thinking Troy for some
Think
reason.
like political figures.
Is it? Wait, political figures.
Founding fathers.
Oh, James Madison. God, that's terrible. Oh, that was a brutal minute and however long.
Now, for all of our listeners, when Adam gives me trivia and I struggle, he is a mid-major expert. And
I had
It's
to-
so hard thinking on the spot. I
Yeah,
should
it
get.
is.
I don't know why
I was trying to-
because I was like
I
when I sat there and said they're good at football, I was like, I had it right there.
You were like, you said it without saying it so many times. You're like, yes, and I know they lost to App State. It was a whole thing. They're good in football. I was like, yes, yes, yes. Just.
I
say
literally
it.
I could see their colors in my head too, and I'm like, why am I drawing a blank on their name? Because I had them in App State in my top 25 like the entire season, pretty much.
Well, they must
Because
not have made
James
that
Madison
much of an
finished
impression on you.
30-3, I think, is what they finished.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were 32-4 in the
Wow. Yeah.
regular in the season through the tournament. Yep. 28-3, 31-3 after the tournament. Yeah, so I had to bleed into a little bit of our guess the game there, Jaren. I think a founding father play.
When you said that, I don't even know what I was thinking. I was like, George Washington? I'm like, no, that ain't right. So,
Washington, I don't know. Well, that was fun. I'm glad. See, I will always willingly make trivia because that I don't have to get put on the spot. If I make the trivia, then I'm not the one having to think of it because I am terrible under pressure with
So
trivia.
am I. We all are, apparently.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I struggled there. That was bad.
Okay. And I didn't prepare you. You didn't know I was going to ask you about James Madison at the tail end, so that's on me. That's on me. Well, I mean, anything else you want to say? Plug your socials, plug your Substack.
I'll
We'll
plug-
have all your info in our episode description so that people can find you wherever you are in person. We will dox you. But yeah.
Please do. Yeah, but like as I mentioned earlier, I usually, Substack, it's like an email list. I usually do about one a week right now, and then once the season starts, probably do about two to 3 a week usually. And like I said, usually one of those is my top 25. So kind of doing that off-season review right now, and then stay tuned for those preseason. I think I'm gonna try to do like preseason rankings for all conferences towards a little bit later, closer to the season. So
Nice. We're excited. You're a coffee man too. Don't let that slip by.
I am,
Go some
yes.
coffee.
Yeah. If you need coffee, Crow's Nest Coffee Roasters, we can.
Hey, no free
Yeah.
advertisements.
I'll pay you a commission now on all sales related to this.
I saw an uptick in sales after I was on your show. Send us that money. Well,
But no, yeah.
go ahead.
Adam.
No,
We're
it's all you.
happy to have you on. We know you've been
Yeah, absolutely.
an advocate and a fan of ours since the beginning, and obviously we've been a fan of yours since our state of basketball start. So
yeah, it's been fun. We kind of started about this.
Yeah, I don't know. We'd very quickly linked up, started at the same time and linked up, and
it's also convenient. We're all from Indiana, so that also definitely helped. So
the Evansville connection there brings people together. The Aces bring people together.
Hey, that's what we're going for. We're going for good vibes and good basketball. That's what we need.
Got the vibes down. Basketball, we're getting there.
Basketball's working on it. It's a work in progress.
It happens. Well, Elliott, thank you for coming on. Great. Adam and I talked about last season. It's like some of these schools, especially the mid-majors, like we didn't know a whole lot about. So it's great that we can lean on you to learn about the mid-majors, to learn about some of the smaller schools that Adam and I didn't follow as much. obviously we follow a lot more now. So still great to be able to pick your brain and talk about not only our 7 mid majors, but what else is to come in the mid major world, because the mid majors are a big part of college basketball. I'd say there's more mid majors than power conference teams, so they don't get love, but we're here to show them the love.
Absolutely. They're fun ones to watch come March. So it's always good to
Absolutely.
like kind of get that early leg up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll we'll catch up on Twitter. I'm sure we'll text back and forth, but it was great talking to you, Elliott.
Sounds great. Yeah, thank you all for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you, man.
Have a good one.
See y'all.
You and trivia, man.
I don't
love
know,
it
man.
so much.
I just see it. You know, like, oh, it's right there. Like, this would be, he's got to know this. And usually I try and prepare the person for trivia, but there are sometimes, like when I prepare trivia for you, I can't tell you anything about it because I'm like, hey, if I'm like, hey, we're gonna do Indiana Mister basketball trivia. Now it's in your head, and you're gonna be like, how do I avoid seeing this information? Like,
Yeah,
just on
but
my
I'll also
thumbs, I'm just gonna type that in on my phone.
I'll be able to think about it, and I think
Yeah,
being on the spot, it makes it more fun, and that's what
yeah,
trivia is, right? I mean, you watch Jeopardy, you go to, any bar or restaurant that does trivia, you don't know what they're going to ask until they ask it. So, no, yeah, we
exactly.
big fans of trivia on the show, and it sucks when you're the person being asked the question because your mind goes blank.
Yeah, I can't wait to go over in the guess the game this year. So I'll get what's coming to me. That's for sure.
Oh yeah,
That's for
we're
sure.
gonna have a bigger sample size, so
I literally thought about like not making flashcards, but like looking through conference lists of like every team, be like Gonzaga, Bulldogs. Okay, got it. St. Mary's, Gales. Like know them all. Have all of the names ready so that I can't be caught. But then I was like, that's too much time. It's too much.
yeah,
But
it's fun though. It's fun. It was great talking to Elliott. I mean, like we said, he's been a fan of we've been mutual fans of each other's products for quite a while, almost a year.
I'll go one farther and say friends, Jaren. We're friends.
Well, yeah. I thought that was a given, but
Well, if we've learned, it's that you can be our friend and not a fan of our content.
that you're not wrong. You've got it. You've got a
Or at least
great
not
point there.
supporters. Fake.
We won't say any names, Logan and Luke.
Yeah. Like they would ever listen and then listen this far.
True. But that was a great show. I had a fun time talking through this. I know we talked a little bit about a lot of these things when we did our transfer portal episode, but it was fun to go a little bit more in depth, right? The transfer, we did that show 2 months ago, not 3 months ago, almost, it feels like. And being able to talk about it a little bit more. Well, we covered a lot of these players right today. We'll talk about them a little bit more in depth, I'm sure, when we do our preseason show. As teams start to develop and we see the teams play. But I'm excited. We're almost there. We're almost to college basketball. College football starts soon, which means that college basketball is right after.
Yep. And so what's coming to the show in the future? Next week we're going to be back, taking a break from college basketball. We will be talking about the Olympics. Indiana is a state, and so we're going to talk about the country where that state is housed and how they have performed at the Olympics. So we'll be talking about the Olympics, and then a busy week for us, but these episodes will be coming to you at a later date. We're going to be recording with an episode with John Kaufman coming soon, and then we're going to be recording an episode to preview football with Cody from Smash Hit Sports, but we'll talk about that when we get a little bit we'll talk about that on Sunday next week when it's going to be coming, because we're going to be then off for a couple of weeks after that. So I guess after our like 2-week break that we're going to take, we'll be probably gearing up to preview time, maybe have a little cut like a coach or two on and then do some previews. But let's get out of here, man. I did not see the Dragons, but probably won't see them tonight. I'll have to see the Dragons tomorrow because you guys are more important than the finale. I will just stay off Twitter for another day.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go watch it because I can't stay off Twitter. It's an addiction. I'd say I get too much information there. So
You know what? That's the first step, Jaren. Proud of you.
acceptance,
Yeah.
admittance.
Is that denial's first, right? Like, denial. It's one
I
of the steps, Jaren. Shows how much I know.
That is a step. Yeah, the clock is showing quadruple zeros, so it's time for us to get out of here. Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball podcast. We will see you next week live. And remember, in 49 states,
It's just basketball.